Okay, everyone, welcome back to episode 4 of Two Guys from Philly Talking Hoops. I'm Mike Gallagher. I'm the assistant coach at Independence High School, and joining me, of course, is my co-host, Corey Stitzel, the head coach at Independence, former college coach, and also current head coach and owner of Virginia Premier, AAU. Welcome, Coach Stitzel.
Great to have everybody on this holiday weekend, Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day to everybody. All our veterans out there, happy Memorial Day. We have a special guest on today and a little holiday edition there, Mike.
It's good to have, really appreciate him joining us here in the holiday. We happen to have Coach Andy Burkholder from American International College. Welcome, Coach. Thanks again for joining us on the holiday.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. You're gonna laugh the whole time.
Now the difference in 20 years ago when you said something.
That's true. True.
Well, let's start on that. So, usually I go through Coach's background. So I saw that, you were a player at Elizabethtown, 1,000-point scorer, then went on to be an assistant coach. And while you're the assistant coach, I know that Corey Stitzel came into town to play. So my first question right at the bat, before I go through the rest of your resume, I've heard that you were more likely during that time to have seen the Loch Ness Monster, right, than to have seen Corey Stitzel play defense. Is that true?
Well, it's that expression, that Olay, the guy goes by and it's Olay, and you yell help. He did a lot of that. He did a lot of yelling for help. That's for sure.
During practice, when it comes to the defense time, that's usually when he says, oh, geez, I got a call. And I'll walk away to a phone that I never heard ring. Suddenly he's got a phone call coming.
Yeah, you were able to sub yourself in on a lot of those defensive drills, and he stepped out on a lot of those.
Well, so after, again, playing and then coaching at E-Town, Springfield College, Shepherd College, before making your way to American International College, and then becoming the head coach in 2014. And in your first year, had a great year with the school and were voted, I think, by one media organization as the D2 Coach of the Year. A hell of a job in your first time being a head coach. What was that like?
We had a lot of good players. It was great. It was quite an experience, quite a ride. The former coach, Art Liptowski, got a job with the Detroit Pistons as the advanced scout. And that happened in May, late May, early June, right around this time. And the school really just drug its feet as far as, putting that position at the forefront as far as, hiring somebody. And our current associate head coach, Chris Orozco, was the interim head coach at the time. And I was the director of compliance. I had stepped away for 3 years to make a little bit more money. I had a third daughter. So I thought it would be important to make a little bit more money and, hopefully get back into it at some point. But yeah, I was only officially hired while I was working there. I was only officially hired October 1st. And I did not have any interaction really with the team at all. Chris Orozco did a really good job getting them ready. We had a volunteer assistant at the time, Joe Krapinski, who's now the head coach at Midway College at D2 AIC out in Kentucky. So those two guys kind of got everything ready to go 2 weeks before practice. And it was quite a ride, quite an experience. We were picked dead last in the conference, and we had a great year.
All right, so for those down in this area, I'm unable to do it. I was going to share my screen, but I can't do it, Coach. I think you disabled me, and I'm not going to ask Coach Stitzel to do anything technical, so I won't be able to do it.
Gracious, no.
I had a couple pictures of the campus for those down here that have never seen it up in Springfield. Also had a team photo. I noticed in the team photo, only one assistant coach, right? Which usually, as I'm looking at the college team photos, there's a horde of assistants. So you're getting it done with just one lead assistant.
Yeah, we have one full-time assistant. He's the associate head coach. Like I said, we usually do have a volunteer here and there. We currently have a young man named Ruben Del Rosario from Springfield. But yeah, it's where we do everything. I'm involved with everything. Coach Chris is involved with everything. as far as departure time and where we eat and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we get it done.
So I guess recruiting's part of that. And, I was going to ask a little bit about recruiting, and I'm going to go back. About 5 years ago, Corey was selected to coach an all-star game here in Virginia and Maryland. And I went to help him out. And I remember after like 5 minutes into the warm-up, he turns to me and points to one kid. And he said, that kid's going to be a Division III All-American. Now, he's just watching him in the warm-up. First time he's seeing him play. And the kid's named Nate Schaefer, goes to Swarthmore and was a All-American. So I ended up having a great career there. So, I ask him a lot, and, I have a chance to ask you, like, what is the secret, in predicting a player? There's a lot of can't misses who don't pan out, and there's bubble kids who turn out to be all league players. What is it that you're looking for in a player, and how are you able to select? You said right players win games. How are you able to do that?
Let me ask you a quick question there, Andy, first. Let me preface something here to Mike's question is, everybody that watches these, and we've gotten some good hits here, Mike, and a lot of feedback, is everybody knows, with my AAU or my players, I'm a big believer in Division II basketball. I think it's kind of the unknown. In Virginia, there's not very many Division II schools. Andy coached at the closest Division II school to where we're located, Northern Virginia, at Shepherd. It's a lot of Division IIIs and Division Is. Obviously, kids want to go to the highest level. Division II is a great level of basketball. The league that Andy coaches in, the Northeast 10, historically over the last 20 years has been one of the better leagues in Division II basketball. When he starts talking recruiting here, I want people and kids and parents that watch this to really listen to what Division II guys are all about. I don't know, maybe Andy will talk about how many full scholarships he has or whatever, but whether it's Division I or Division II, my always answer to kids, and Mike, you've heard me say this before when I've met with them, is my goal is to make sure you don't pay for college. And you don't hear me put a Division I or II name behind that, pay for college. Division II is a great level of basketball. Andy's done an unbelievable job identifying talent to go to Springfield, Massachusetts. But I want people to know out there, there's a guy on this call, and Andy, who could be sitting on 6, 7, 8 scholarships, that there are more to life than what we watch on TV all the time. And to go on that, what you said, Mike, Nate Schaefer, who I said was going to be a Division III All-American, probably would have been an all-league Division II player as well as a bigger guy. So, Andy, to follow up on Mike's question, talk about what you look for, what you have. Andy's lucky enough to have one of my AAU guys on his team this year as a freshman who played double-figure minutes from him, Jalen Jordan, a freshman from Richmond, Virginia. Expand on what Mike and I are saying there, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think enough people, like I always ask people if they talk about, well, he's better than Division II. And I asked them, I said, have you ever seen a Division II game? Have you ever been to our game? Like, there's people in Springfield that have never been to one of our games. And, they think that this kid can play for us and that kid can play for us. It's a really, really high level. In fact, we've had a lot of guys from our conference, as far as assistant coaches, move on and go be Division I assistants, at the low major level. And a lot of those guys come back and say, particularly the guard and perimeter play is just as good or better in our league than it is in their league. Sometimes I'm not talking about the mid-major or high major levels, but I'm talking about the low major levels. It's, there's a certain, in general, there's a certain level of athleticism you kind of need to have, unless you're just, unless you're talking about a big guy and you like to play, two bigs together maybe, or you got a guy that can really, really, really shoot it, and that just overcomes, all the other athletic deficiencies. But you do have to have some level of athleticism. What we really look for, what we put a premium on this year with our recruiting, is shooting. Okay, our league, the Northeast 10 Conference, is annually one of the best shooting conferences in the country at any level. So you have to have some guys that can knock the open shot down when it's, when they are open. The other thing we put a premium on this year is some of those intangibles, that I'm not sure you can teach, as far as, a nose for the ball, some leadership, some leadership qualities. We recruited a couple guys this year that were starters at a really, really high level of high school basketball. And midway through their senior season, each of their respective coaches asked them to take a step out of the starting lineup because there was someone else they wanted to put in there. Neither guy batted an eye, still played close to starter minutes. And, you know, there's a lot of sacrifice and unselfishness when you have somebody that can do that, because all that they're about is winning. So, you know, we're looking at a lot of that. I love guys that can make scoring passes. I'm not sure Coach Stitzel knows what that is. He saw one
Only
thing
if you're
when he
passing to him.
right. He saw one thing when he caught the ball. He was looking at the rim and the rim only. But you know, honestly, guys that can make scoring passes. If you have 5 guys out there that can make scoring passes, I mean, run whatever you want. It doesn't matter. So, yeah, we're looking for guys that, you know, and that get overlooked by those Division I's. Maybe they should have gotten a scholarship. Maybe they were injured there, you know, halfway through their senior year and didn't get seen. There's a lot of reasons. Maybe they didn't play AAU. You know, so we look for those, you know, needles in the haystack, so to speak. But it's a really high level. It's not like, oh, well, if I can't play Division I, I'll just go play Division II. It doesn't work like that. A lot of the best players in our league, in fact, most of the best players in our league are usually 4-year guys. And we get a lot of Division I transfers. We get a lot of junior college transfers. But, you know, those guys come down. They think they're coming down to our level, and they're usually in for a rude awakening once they get here.
Let me add something here. This is, to me, a fascinating stat or saying is Merrimack this year was a provisional Division I school who had a heck of a year, 19 wins or 20 wins. I don't know what they had. Beat Northwestern at Northwestern, beat a couple other teams, finished, top 4 in their league, right? They're not eligible as a first-year Division I to go to league. They came from Andy's league in the Northeast 10. But this is a great stat for people that don't think about what Andy's talking about Division II basketball. What did Merrimack in their last year in the Northeast Conference D2 finish in your league?
Okay, well, and let me add to what you just said. So they're in the NEC this year. They won the regular season.
That's right.
First.
Right.
They won the regular season. Starting the same lineup they started the previous year in our conference, minus their leading scorer, a 6'6", 6'7" guy that could really, really shoot it, Ryan Bolter, and inserted a young man who had a great season for them, who barely played the previous year in the Northeast 10
while they were Division II.
While they were Division II. They finished second or third on their side of the conference. So they did not win the regular season. They did end up as a second or third seed, winning our conference tournament and making the NCAA playoffs. But you know, they took essentially the exact same team minus their leading scorer and performed really, really well at that next level up.
Right. So my point is there's a Division II team with the same team. And Andy, again, you know me, I'm not real bright. I just speak off the top of my head. I was told they finished 4th in your league. That's where I was going.
Could be.
4th in your league. So they finished 4th in the Division II league, but then they win the Northeast Conference, which is a Division I league. Now, you can make the argument, and again, you know me, I like to say things on things that I think the Northeast Conference is a bad Division II league, if you want my opinion, but you know, what do I know? But just so people don't know about Division II, there's a team that made a seamless transition from D2 to D1 and finished higher in D1 that they did D2. My point about how good Division II basketball really is.
So a quick comment on that. I think, Coach, that they're not the only team to leave the conference and go Division I, right? Over the last 10 years or so. UMass Lowell, were they in that?
UMass Lowell, yep.
UMass Lowell, Bryant, when I was.
Yeah, Bryant was there when I was at Philly U. Yeah, Bryant was in the region.
In the old Northeast 10, when it originally started, you know, Sacred Heart was in there, Quinnipiac was in there as well. So, yeah, no, we've had a lot of schools, you know, quote unquote, move up.
Now, Coach mentioned, both of you mentioned the Northeast Conference. So just again, for folks that you're hovering around cities like New York, Boston, Hartford, and some upstate New York locations as well. You get into New Hampshire. So in those markets, a lot of talent, you know, in all those cities and surrounding areas, yet, you know, you're finding prospects down in Virginia. So again, as you said, you're looking for players. wherever they are. So you'll go find them. So for folks down in our area, certainly there are opportunities in the Northeast Conference as well.
Yeah, in the last couple of weeks, Andy, talk a little bit about, if you can name their names. I don't know if you have their NLI back, but you were able to get a kid out of Gonzaga, right, which is a WCA school here. You also got a kid from Nottingham Academy, I believe, in Maryland this year. So you came down in the DMV and got two guys. Plus last year you got Jalen from Richmond, who's even 2.5 hours more south of this area. So you're really – this is Virginia. We're based in Virginia here. My AAU kids, everybody, you saw the roster. We talked about it. They're 10 Virginia kids. So you're cultivating this area as well. As I said before to other guests, my brother's obviously the head coach at Millersville, and he's going to be a top 10 team maybe in the country next year. And I don't think he has a Pennsylvania kid on his roster. They're all Virginia and Maryland. Talk a little bit about coming down here this year and really getting multiple prospects.
Yeah, it started about a year ago, to be honest with you. And, our connection and our relationship and us being able to get Jalen Jordan to AIC last year, you were key in that and putting us in touch and everything that happened after that. And we feel like, yes, there are a ton of players up here in the Northeast. The majority of the prep schools across the country are up here in the Northeast. So, we do a prep school tour every fall, where we go out and we get out to as many as we can. But the issue is a lot of the colleges and universities are up here in the Northeast as well.
Yeah.
So everybody is going after the same kids. We decided to make a concerted effort to hit the DMV area right around this time last year, specifically when these NCAA scholastic camps, started popping up. And so Chris Orozco, our associate head coach, he went down, spent several days. I think it was DeMatha was one of the sites, and then Murray, I think, was another site.
Yep.
And he watched games for 2 or 3 days, and we compiled names, and we put them in our database. And, it really paid off this year. We signed Carlos Hub from Gonzaga College High School, really, really good shooter. Perimeter shooter, really good defender as well. We signed Donovan Miller from DeMatha Catholic, and then Tyree Washington from Tacoma Academy. Donovan's a point guard. Tyree's like a 6'7" forward, who actually Tyree was at the McDuffie School the year before, about a half an hour north of us here in New England. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to go where the players are. There's a ton of players down there. I think it's the best basketball in the country. I don't get all over the country to recruit, but at least on the East Coast here, I'm not sure there's better talent anywhere.
Last fall, Coach Stitzel held a one-day showcase, just allowing opportunities for players to showcase themselves for college coaches. Both Division II, Division III schools had come in and worked out well. I think, Coach, we have 22, 23 coaches come to
we had 29 coaches, 24 of them being from the Division II level. Andy was invited, but he doesn't come south in the fall. Foliage up there. We had 24 Division II schools, to my point of, and I think Andy made a really good point there. Obviously, he got a kid from DeMatha and a kid from Gonzaga from the WCAC, which is the private school that everybody thinks that if you go in that league, you're automatically going to go Division I and play on TV. Well, there are two guys that got a full ride that went Division II. So, Division II's, there's also other good opportunities out there as well for kids at all levels.
Yeah, good reminder, too. One of the alumni from AIC is Jim Calhoun, right?
Yeah.
Went on to have a nice he was a player, I think, at AIC, and then
he was a very good player on the teams in the late 60s that made, I think, 3 straight runs to the Elite Eight out to Evansville, Illinois. And then in the 80s, Mario Ellie.
That's right.
From AIC.
Yep.
Kiss of Death.
That's right.
Was just the anniversary of that. So
yeah.
So there's this segment we added our last call that I want to do again. It's a Stump the Coach. So I'm going to try to stump Coach Stitzel, and you can help us with the answer. It's never hard to do. All right, Coach. So the Northeast 10, how many teams are in the Northeast 10 conference?
You going to ask me first?
Ask you first. I think
Well,
he's going to go
obviously
to answer.
setup. I'm not going to say 10. I'm going to say 8. It's a setup. It can't be that easy.
No, just remember college math. You know, the Big Ten has, I think, 16 teams at this point. The Northeast 10 has a lot more. And as someone who's paying for college, it's always a bigger number than you expect when you see it in print. So you see the 10, you know it's going to be more. But Coach, help us out. How many teams in the Northeast 10?
I think we're down to 14 now.
14.
Okay.
So the latest 14.
It's not as easy as you think because we've had a lot of guys.
Yeah, you've
it's
had a lot
moving.
of turnover. Yeah.
We've had
Your conference is being recruited by Division I conferences, not just for players, but for teams as well. So there's a lot of change going on. Well, again, Coach, we appreciate on Memorial Day you taking time out to talk with two knuckleheads from Philly, and we love a chance to talk basketball. Any other Coach Stitzel stories from back in Elizabethtown that?
Well, I got one first. Wait a minute. I'm going to get one first. So just so everybody knows, Andy, first of all, one of the good guys in the business, and Andy and I have known each other for a long time, and you know, and Coach, you hear me say it all the time, Mike. There's a lot of naysmiths out there in this business. I wouldn't put Andy in that category. He's a guy that just does his job, doesn't really self-promote. He wins games, and not only poorly, gets his kids to graduate and get jobs and stuff like that. But I just want to make sure that everybody knows. So Andy coached me, and then I got hurt and started coaching. And we had a JV team at E-Town, and I took over one game as an undergrad, the coach. And Andy showed up in the second half to sit on the bench and to help me out. So not only did he coach me, he was my assistant for like a half coaching the JV. So I feel like that coach of the year and stuff, I kind of springboarded him, you know, that's my coaching tree there that's moved on, you know, to bigger and better things.
And you know my pain now. You know my pain of being assistant for him.
Oh, man. I tell you what, Mike, I was just happy when I jumped on the call to see that you're actually really in charge of this whole setup here. If he was in charge, I wasn't sure if we were going to get cut off and have to sign back in. No, I don't have any, like, funny stuff. I mean, Corey was a really, really good shooter. You know, would have had a great career at Elizabethtown. I remember it was a really tough time when he went down with the back issues, but the program was there to support him. And, you know, I could tell he was going to be a really, really good coach. Like he knows the game. He really knows players. He really does. He can do like what you said. He can spot a guy and say, you know, that guy can play. And, you know, after seeing him for like 2 minutes, I need like 2 days to kind of figure that stuff out. But Stitz is really good at that kind of stuff. So, no, I'm just glad to have that relationship with him going way, way back.
Way back.
Because I still think I'm 25. I still think of myself as 20. I wish we could go back and do the same things all over again.
Yes.
I'm happy to see you're doing well, Mike. You know, you got your hands full here with this. Keep them on the straight and narrow.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, Andy. You know, I consider you a friend for a long time. You know, you were there when I was a college kid and then got hurt. Like you said, you're one of the good guys in this business. We're glad we could get you on, and for people that are out here to know what AIC is, to promote your program because you deserve it. You do a great job. And, you know, we talked about my roster before. Hopefully there's a couple other guys we can recruit as time goes on, and we'll get you to Northern Virginia here at one time. And, you know, for people that don't know, Andy and I are both E-Town grads. We coached and played there. So for all the coaches out there, everybody, for Andy and I, did invent or perfect the flex offense. It is known by our college coach, Bob Schlosser, who invented it without a down screen and a stagger screen when you throw it to the corner. So, you know, if anybody wants to make a couple bucks, I'm sure Andy or I will answer any questions on the flex without the down screen, because we're one of the few left that probably did it, played it, or coaching it that whatever. I don't think either one of us run it anymore with our personnel, but we're there to if anybody needs it.
Yeah, no, I ran it that first year. The first year we were really good, and I think the second year we might get back to a couple sets out of it this coming year. But yeah, yep. Now I have my youngest daughter here is checking on me. What's that? Good? Okay.
Assistant coaches always show up, right? They're always there to help. Well, again, thank you for joining us on a holiday, Memorial Day holiday, and enjoy the rest of it. And hopefully things get started on time and have a great season coming up in the fall.
Thanks. We'll be in touch for sure, guys. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Andy.